Tr Festus, and today I want to take you through leisure. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel by pressing the bell icon, down here, so that anytime I upload the lessons, then you'll be able to get notification. Thank you. Leisure is one of the areas that is examined in KCP, in most cases, number 87 and number 88. So it's good for us to go through this area where we have to define the meaning of leisure. We have to give types of leisure and also examples of the leisure activities that a learner is supposed to engage in as a Christian religious learner. And don't forget, we also have some sample questions that will assist us to be able to know how to answer questions in leisure. We also have some 2 factors which are going to elaborate them fully for you to understand when you are choosing questions, when handling questions on leisure, which are the factors that you're supposed to consider, you're supposed to put into consideration. So, first, let me pose the question to you. What is leisure? What is leisure? So, leisure is the time that an individual is free from his or her daily activities. So that time that an individual is free from his or her daily activities, his job, his work, that time that this individual is free, we refer to it as leisure. We have different activities that people involve in when they are free during their leisure time. Others will be watching movies, that is, they watch series movies. Others will be going to play football. Others will go to the gym. Others will go to sleep. Others who are good cooks, who like cooking, they'll go prepare some snacks. Others will read the Bible. So you have different activities that people do involve in during their free time. So that free time is the one we are referring to leisure time. Now, how important is leisure time? Discover leisure time brings relaxation. During leisure time, you have enough time, you have ample time to relax, forget about what you've undergone through during your daily chores. So it brings relaxation. It also replenishes the lost energy. When somebody is working, a lot of energy is lost. So during leisure time, you now have ample time to replenish that energy that you had lost. It also brings meditation. This is a time when an individual sits down alone, then you can have time to meditate, think about your next move. So it brings meditation, have ample time to meditate, think about issues that have been giving you headache, think about what you're planning to also go and do, think about what you've been doing earlier on, where you went astray, which are the corrections that you're supposed to do. So leisure time is also so important. It also brings refreshment. It refreshes one's mind. So it refreshes one's mind, and it makes you at least feel good, being ready to take another opportunity. Now, something else we should know about leisure is that leisure was ordained by God Himself. It takes us back to creation. After God was through with His creative activity, creative work for 6 days, what did He do on the 7th day? He decided to rest. So that idea of God resting, it simply means God was also taking part in leisure. That was His leisure time. So it simply means that we as Christians, after working for some time, then we we are also supposed to ensure we set aside some time for resting. That time you are setting aside where you can do other activities apart from the normal daily chores is the one we are referring to leisure time. So how do you spend your leisure time? So apart from that, we need to know that leisure time has been categorized into two. Leisure activities have been categorized into two, so that we have passive leisure activities and active leisure activities. Now, for passive leisure activities, we are told that these are the activities that individuals do participate in without using energy, or less energy is used. So that activity that you partake and less energy or no energy is used, we refer to it as a passive leisure activity. A good example of a passive leisure activity is watching movies, watching films, watching television. It can either be news or that favorite program of yours you watch at home. No energy is used. If energy is used, then it's less energy used, maybe when you are concentrating. So that's a good example of a passive leisure activity. Reading the Bible as a Christian, that is a passive leisure activity. Reading storybooks, that is also passive. So those activities that less or no energy is used, while executing them, we refer to it as a passive leisure activity. Then B, we have active. Active leisure activity is an activity where energy is used while undertaking. So that activity where you have to use energy to execute it, we refer to it as an active leisure activity. For example, we have digging gardens, plowing of land, playing football, swimming, washing dishes. So energy has to be used. Jogging, energy has to be used. So those are the two types of leisure activities that one has to know them. Then another important area is that in most of the questions you'll be given a number of options. Then you are told among the options given which one is the correct leisure activity for a learner to participate in. Then I've said that for you to get the correct answer here, you need to consider two factors. So we have two factors that an individual, that a learner of Christian religious education has to consider them while choosing a leisure activity. Factor number one, that leisure activity has to be active. It has to be an active leisure activity. That means energy has to be used while undertaking this leisure activity. Factor number two, this leisure activity has to be aimed at glorifying God. Factor number two, this leisure activity has to be aimed at glorifying God. We as Christians, we are co-creators with God. Co-creators mean that we assist God in creation. Where God had left, we continue with creation from there. So if we do that, if we continue with God's creative work, it means we are glorifying God. So the two factors are supposed to be taken into consideration when you're choosing a leisure activity. Factor number one, it has to be active leisure activity. Factor number two, the aim of that leisure activity is supposed to be to glorify God. So for us to be able to understand these factors well, for us to be able to choose the best leisure activity as Christian religious learners, then it's good for us to use some sample questions that will assist us to go through them. Then with discuss them, then we'll be able to choose the correct leisure activity. So we'll start with some sample KCP questions, previous KCP questions. We go through them, questions on leisure, then you try to discuss them, then you can be able to choose the correct leisure activity. Apart from them, we also have some questions which are not previous KCP questions, but very good questions that will also assist us in choosing the best leisure activities as a Christian religious education learner. Let's go together so that we can get the concept well. So let's have some sample questions on leisure. We'll start with KCP 2010. So question number 87, it reads, you have been asked by your church leader to plan for an activity for young people. What is the best leisure activity for them? What is the best leisure activity for them? Part A, playing games. Part B, reading storybooks. Part C, visiting children's home. Part D, watching Christian films. So you can pause the video so that you can have time to go through the question and give your correct answer. Then we can go through together to see if we've got it right. So we say that questions on leisure activities should be, two factors should be considered while you are handling them. Factor number one, it has to be an active leisure activity. Factor number two, the aim of the leisure activity has to be glorifying God. The aim, the target of that leisure activity is supposed to be glorifying God. So let's see if our answers have considered the two factors. Part A, playing games. Playing games is an active leisure activity. Then the second factor, glorifying God. So when you're playing games, it's just for refreshment, being busy, creating some happiness, but the idea of glorifying God is not there. So part A has not considered glorifying God. Part B, reading storybooks. So reading storybooks is a leisure activity that is passive but not active. Reading storybooks is not aimed at glorifying God. So B has not considered both factors. C, visiting children's home. So visiting children's home is both an active leisure activity and the aim is also to glorify God. A children's home is a place where children who are needy live there and people can go and assist them in one way or another. It can be provision of the basic needs or even giving them comfort, giving them support, playing with them, which is also important. So C is both an active leisure activity and also the aim is to glorify God. Then part D, watching Christian films. So this one is a passive leisure activity. Watching Christian films is a passive leisure activity. Less or no energy is used when you're watching a Christian film. So let's go to another question. That is a sample question, KCP 2011. Still question number 87. Which one of the following groups of activities shows the Christian teachings on leisure activities? Which one of the following groups of activities activities shows the Christian teachings on leisure activities. Part A, we have reading the Bible, helping at home, playing soccer. Those are the 3 activities. Part B, improving one's talent, going to church, playing computer games. Those are the 3 activities. Part C, attending church, talking about church, then visiting the sick. The 3 activities for option C. Then part D, helping in communal work, helping the elderly, then visiting prisoners. So you also have another moment of going through the questions plus the answers, then try to pick the correct answer, then we'll go through it once again to see if you've got it right or wrong. So let's start with option A, reading the Bible. That is passive leisure activity. Helping at home, it's active, but look at the essence of glorifying God, it's also missing. Playing soccer is an active leisure activity, but the idea of glorifying God is also missing. Remember we said, let's consider the 2 factors. Factor number 1, it has to be an active leisure activity. Factor number 2, it has to glorify God. Part B, improving one's talent. This one can be either active or passive. They have not clarified how to improve your talent. It can be through drawing, it can be through playing football, volleyball, or any other talent that you have. Even singing is a talent. So they haven't clarified. Then part B, still on part B, we have going to church. Going to church is also active, but the idea of glorifying God is also missing. Then we have playing computer games. Playing computer games, less energy is also used. Now, we have going to church. Going to church. So, going to church is quite ambiguous because we have not been told the aim. The aim. Is it going to sing to church, listening to the word, preaching the word? So they haven't specified. Then part C, attending church. Attending church is also active leisure activity, but the aim of glorifying God is also missing. Talking about church is both passive and also doesn't glorify God. Then visiting the sick. Visiting the sick is active and also it's aimed at glorifying God. The sick are people who are in need. So when Christians visit them, give them assistance, they are co-creators with God. So for part C, only the 3rd option is right. Then part D, helping in communal work. That one is both active and also aimed at glorifying God. Then we have helping the when you're helping the elderly, that is an active leisure activity. also being a co-creator with God. You are assisting God with His creative work by assisting those who are in need. Visiting the prisoners, that one is also active and also aimed at glorifying God, simply because you'll be giving them comfort, you'll be giving them material support and any other assistance they require. So the correct answer in our question number 87, KCP 2011, is D, helping in communal work, helping the elderly, and visiting prisoners. In such a question, a learner can also consider by checking the answers where the learner discovers that either of the option given is not active. If a learner is good at checking on the idea of an activity being active, then he can use that option A. It has to be an active leisure activity. If the learner can easily identify a leisure activity that glorifies God, can also consider that. So a bright learner can use one of the factors to get the correct answer in a question where you're given a multiple of activities. So for example, in our option A, reading the Bible is not an active leisure activity. That means A is already wrong. Then we have part B, going to church, improving one's talent. So we discover, even playing computer games, we discover that the three of them are not active leisure activities. Then we have option C, attending to church and also talking about church, which are not active. But look at C, visiting the sick was correct. So you can also use that elimination method where the learner can be able to get the correct answer. Let's go to another sample question, KCP 2013, question number 87. The question reads, which one of the following activities of leisure is common to both traditional African communities and Christianity? Which one of the following activities of leisure is common to both traditional African communities and Christianity? So you can pause the video, go through the question, go through the answers, then pick the correct answer, then we'll go through it. So the first one, we have reading the scriptures. Part B, attending beer parties. Part C, visiting the needy. Then part D, watching films. So here the learner is supposed to be able to differentiate the leisure activities that were performed in traditional African society and also leisure activities that are performed by Christians. Remember, for Christianity, we consider the two factors. Factor number one, we said it has to be an active leisure activity. Factor number two, it has to glorify God. But for this question, we are comparing the two, traditional African communities and also Christianity, which leisure activity is found in both. So let's go through the answers together. So part A, I've said reading the scripture. So the scripture is found in the Bible. So in other words, the answer is talking of reading the Bible. So reading the Bible is only found in Christianity. In traditional African society, we didn't have religious books. So A is wrong. Part B, attending beer parties. So beer parties in Christianity are not allowed. The Bible stipulates that Christians are not supposed to take hard drinks. So a Christian is not supposed to take beer. But beer parties were there in traditional African society where the adults could converge, adult men could converge together during leisure time, then they could have beer parties. So beer parties are only found in traditional African society, but not in Christianity. Option C says visiting the needy. The needy are people who require support from us. So as a Christian, it's important that a person who is in need has to be supported. Giving them material things, it can be prayers or any other need that they require, which is important. So the aged are needy, the sick are needy, the orphans are needy, the widows, they are also needy. Those are examples of people who require support from us. So in traditional African society, the needy were also supported. People were crippled, people could not support themselves fully, they were supported. Christians also do the same. So part C is correct because it focuses in both Christianity and also traditional African society. Now look at part D. They're talking of watching films. So watching films is a leisure activity among Christians, though it's a passive leisure activity which we had said earlier on. As a Christian, when choosing a leisure activity, it has to be active. In traditional African society, we didn't have films. So films are only found in Christianity. So our correct answer for question 87 in KCP 2013 is C, visiting the needy. I hope you got it right. So let's go to another question, KCP 2014 question 87. Which one of the following activities best shows how Christians should spend their leisure time? A, reading stories. B, playing games. C, singing songs. D, visiting the sick. So you can read the question once again, go through the answers, then try to choose the correct one. So let's start with option A, reading stories. So reading stories is a passive leisure activity. Then part B, playing games. Playing games is an active leisure activity, though the aim is not to glorify God. Then part C, singing songs. So singing songs is an active leisure activity, but the aim is not to glorify God. Which type of songs? They haven't clarified. Part D, visiting the sick. So visiting the sick is an active leisure activity because energy is used. Then it's aimed at glorifying God because Christians here, they are being portrayed as co-creators with God. They are continuing with God's creative work by assisting those who are in need, and in this case, the sick. So our correct answer here is D, visiting the sick. Another sample question, once again, that is KCP 2015, number 87. The Question reads, during the holidays, Keith finds himself with some extra time. Which one of the following is the best leisure activity that he should involve himself in? A. Playing football. B. Helping the needy. C. Watching films. D. Reading storybooks. Once again, go through the question and the 4 options given, then try to choose the correct answer. So let's start with option A, playing football. Playing football, we said, is an active leisure activity, but the aim is not to glorify God. Then part B, helping the needy. When we help the needy, we say that we are being co-creators. We are being portrayed as co-creators with God. So that means it's aimed at glorifying God. Helping the needy is also a passive leisure activity. Then part C, watching films. Watching films is passive. That means less or no energy is used. Then part D, reading storybooks, which is also passive leisure activity, and even the aim is not to glorify God. That leaves us with option B as our correct answer. So the correct answer is B, helping the needy. To another question, KCP 2016, question 88. Which one of the following is the best leisure activity for a standard 8 people to engage in during a school holiday? During a school holiday. Option A, playing football with friends. Option B, reading storybooks. Option C, listening to music. Then option D, visiting the sick. So once again, go through the question, pick the correct answer, then we can discuss and see where you went wrong or if you got it right. So option A, that said playing football with friends. So what is the aim of this leisure activity? It's either for relaxation, for entertainment, or any other reason, but not to glorify God, despite the fact that it is an active leisure activity. Then part B, reading storybooks. This one is a passive leisure activity. Then part C, listening to music, is also passive leisure activity. Part D, visiting the sick. We said earlier on, the sick are categorized under people who are in need. And anytime we assist people who are in need, then we are being co-creators with God. We are continuing with God's creative activity. So the aim is to glorify God. And it's also an active leisure activity. So the correct answer is visiting the sick. This question has also been repeated, if you are keen enough, in KCP 2014. The same question has been repeated, KCP 2016. So learners should be very keen while revising, because some of these questions are being repeated. Let's go to another sample question, KCP 2017, question 88. The question says, which one of the following activities will be the best use of leisure by a Christian youth? A, playing games. B, listening to Christian music. C, helping in community work. B. Watching Christian films. You can go through the question plus the answers given, then try to give the correct answer. So part A, I've said playing games. Playing games is an active leisure activity, but the aim is entertainment, not to glorify God. Listening to Christian music, that is a passive leisure activity because no energy is used. Then part C, helping in community work. This one is an active leisure activity because energy is used. And it glorifies God because this is community work that will assist people in the community. So when you're doing community work, you're being a co-creator with God. You're continuing with God's creative activity by supporting others in the community. Then part D, watching Christian films. So when you're watching, no energy is used, or less energy is used. So that one is passive leisure activity. So the correct answer is helping in community work, simply because it is both an active leisure activity and the aim is to glorify God. Let's go to another sample question. That is KCP 2018, number 88. The question reads, Alan, a standard 7 pupil, is planning to engage in various activities during the school holidays. Which one of the following activities shows the best use of leisure time? Part A, participating in a walk to raise money for the sick. Part B, attending his uncle's wedding. Part C, going for a trip with friends. Part D, playing football. Another chance for you to go through the question and the answers given, then try to pick the correct answer. So part A, they have said participating in a walk to raise money for the sick. That one is we call it a charity walk. So the aim is to assist those who are in need, that is the sick. So Alan will be going to work, then he will raise some money. This money will not be taken at any other place apart from a kitty that is aimed to assist the needy. So the aim is to glorify God. And this is also an active leisure activity. So it has qualified to be our correct answer because it has both of the factors to consider while choosing a leisure activity. Part B, they have said attending to his uncle's wedding. That is an active leisure activity, but the aim is not to glorify God. Going for a trip with friends, that one is an active leisure activity, but the aim is not to glorify God. Playing football, we said that one is for entertainment, though it is active, but the aim is not to glorify God. So our correct answer is A, participating in a walk to raise money for the sick. Then lastly, our last sample question from the KCP previous question, that is KCP 2019, number 88. The question reads, Sharon was involved in the activities listed below during school holidays. As a Christian, which one of the following activities is the best use of leisure time? So here they have talked of the best use of leisure time. So the learner has to underline the best, simply because all the answers given are good use of leisure time, but they want the best. Still, our two factors to consider will have to be applied here. Factor number one, we said it has to be an active leisure activity. Factor number two, we said the activity, or rather the leisure activity, has to be aimed at glorifying God. A, celebrating her birthday with friends. B, attending her cousin's wedding. C, visiting her aunt. D, participating in a charity walk. So please go through the question once again, then try to give your correct answer. So learners who are keen enough, you discover that this question 88 in KCP 2019 is a repetition of question number 88 in KCP 2018. So part A, they have said celebrating her birthday with friends. But in 2018, we were given option C, going for a trip with friends. And we said this one is an active leisure activity, but the aim is not to glorify God. Then part B, attending her cousin's wedding in 2019. Then in 2018, option B, they have said attending his uncle's wedding. We said earlier on, this one is an active leisure activity, but the aim is not to glorify God. Then part C, they have talked of visiting her aunt. So visiting her aunt, this one is an active leisure activity, but the aim is not to glorify God. Then part D, participating in a charity walk. In 2018, part A, they said participating in a walk to raise money for the sick. So in 2019, we only have a charity walk. But the aim of this charity walk is to assist those who are in need. They haven't specified which group of people. It can be widows, can be widowers, it can be the old, rather the aged, or it can be the sick. So the aim of this charity walk is to glorify God by assisting those who are in need. Remember, this leisure activity is also an active leisure activity. So our correct answer here is participating in a charity walk, and that is. So apart from the KCP sample questions that we've gone through, I also have some two sample questions which I would like us to go through them and try to give the correct answers considering the two factors that we've talked about, that is being an active leisure activity and the aim has to glorify God. Let's give a try to these two questions here, then we see if you can get the correct answer. Sample question 1. Which is the best leisure activity for a standard 8 to be involved in during his leisure time? Which is the best leisure activity for a standard 8 to be involved in during his leisure time? A, playing football with friends. B, visiting orphans in children's home. C, singing in a church choir. D, listening to gospel music. So you can go through the question once again, then give your correct answer. So part A, that said playing football with friends, we say that is an active leisure activity, but it's more of entertainment. than glorifying God. Part B, visiting orphans in children's home. That one is both an active leisure activity, and the aim of visiting these orphans is to glorify God by assisting them in one way or another. So it can be material support, basic needs, food, even clothing, and at times giving them moral support, praying with them. So the support given to the needy, it ensures that Christians are being portrayed as co-creators with God. So part B is our correct answer. Look at part C, singing in a church choir. That one is active, though the aim is not to glorify God. Then listening to gospel music, that one is passive, but not active leisure activity. Our last sample question. Lastly, boys and girls, it is a reminder, we are not on holiday, we are on coronavirus. Let us stay at home, let us sanitize everything we have, let us wash our hands diligently, let us also ensure that 1 meter social distance. Apart from that, let us avoid as much as we can the use of currency that is in form of money, that is coins and notes. Let us use M-Pesa and any other mode of payment apart from the use of currency. If at all you are given balance when you're buying, please, the coins and the notes that you have, let us try to sanitize them. Those of us who like using keys from home, moving with them from the house, doing our errands with the keys in our hands, with the keys in our pockets. Let us ensure that anytime we enter the house, before doing anything else, we sanitize those keys. Our enemy is one, and that is COVID-19. The shoes that we use outside the house, let us ensure that when we come back to the house, the shoes remain outside. We have those shoes, slippers, that we use in our houses. Let us ensure they remain in the house. We don't move them outside the house. We like forwarding messages, more so in WhatsApp. We have messages that can bring panic to Kenyans, messages that can bring panic to our relatives, our friends. Let us try as much as possible to ensure we don't forward such messages. We have our uncles, our parents who are old. Let us assist them by ensuring they remain at home. In case they require anything, we try as much as possible to deliver everything to them and ensure they don't move away from home. Remember, they are so vulnerable. Our enemy is one. That enemy is COVID-19. If we do that together, we are going to defeat this enemy. We are already defeating